Hey guys, Marcel Nostroza here, back again for another video. This time I'll be talking about Star Trek, the original series, episode 1, entitled The Man Trap. Alright guys, so we have finally made it to Star Trek's official pilot. We're just going to pretend that last week's episode, The Cage, didn't exist, and in the regular timeline, this is actually the first adventure of the USS Enterprise. But in this episode, new captain James T. Kirk and physician Leonard McCoy go down to a planet that is inhabited to perform a regularly scheduled medical consultation with the scientists that are down on this planet. The couple of scientists down there are actually married. They're husband and wife. So Kirk, McCoy, and a crew member go down there to give them their medical exam. But here's the rub of the episode. The wife of the scientist who is down there is a former flame of Dr. McCoy's. As you can imagine, when Dr. McCoy goes down there, he's very, very nervous and very, very hesitant to meet an old flame of his. And when he actually goes down there, him, Captain Kirk, and the crew members see different versions of the same woman. So that begs the question that there is something funny going on here, that each member of the landing party is seeing different versions of Nancy Crater. Okay, first off, I really enjoyed this second attempt at a Star Trek pilot because I love the chemistry between William Shatner, DeForest Kelley, and Leonard Nimoy. I think that they bring a likeness to the characters, a sense of energy and a sense of adventure and wonder. I really like the scene when, I really like the opening sequence to this episode where Captain Kirk and Bones land on the planet, and Bones seems to be a little bit uncomfortable and nervous, and Kirk, looking to calm his friend down, picks a couple flowers and gives them to McCoy, and McCoy says, is that how you get women to like you, by bribing them? And I thought that line was great and wonderful. The overall feeling of friendship and connection between these two, between the three main characters in this episode, Spock, Bones, and Kirk, are just great, particularly for a pilot episode. I thought that their chemistry was just great, and unlike the first episode where I thought Captain Christopher Pike was a whiny person who for some reason forgot the magic of just going through space exploring, I thought that William Shatner in this episode really got the character of Captain James T. Kirk down to a T and really showed a sense of adventure, a sense of wonder, and a sense of command, especially when everything starts going tits up on his spaceship because of the invasion of a monster who lives on salt and who basically goes around killing people to extract all the salt from their body. That, as a science fiction concept in general, was fascinating. The one thing that I really questioned at the beginning of this episode is the behavior of Dr. Crater in this episode. If he wanted to be left alone by Starfleet, why didn't he just let Bones and McCoy examine him and make sure that they gave him additional salt tablets? Why was he so against them being down there on the planet? Now, I know that, look, the main reason why he was probably against them being down there on the planet was because he didn't want them to discover, the true fact that he was living with a salt-eating monster. But the salt-eating monster could basically turn into whomever they wanted. So I gather that they could have played pretend a little longer just to get, Spock and McCoy and the ship out of orbit, and then they could go back to whatever status quo they had before Spock and Bones came to the planet. But I don't understand why Professor Crater was so defensive, because the act of him being defensive made Kirk and Bones really, really suspicious as to what is going down on this planet. And when, the monster lost her mind and started killing people, that didn't help things either. So I was really perplexed at the fact that Professor Crater didn't tell the monster, listen, these people are going to come down here and we need to act as normal as possible so they can get the fuck out of here as quickly as possible and we can go back to living our lives the way we have for who knows how many years on this planet. But I do understand why the writer of this episode did that, to sort of propel the story forward and to sort of introduce the main conflict of this episode as to why is Professor Crater acting in such a manner, and why he needs additional salt tablets and why he's so desperate to get them off this planet. So I understand that, but I wish it was handled differently. Again, if it was handled differently, there probably wouldn't be a main thrust to this episode. I really liked the I really liked the rapport between Captain Kirk and Bones. Specifically, when Bones is examining the body of a dead crew member, and Bones, can't come up with the obvious answer as to why he has red rings on his face. And Bones just ultimately goes, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just off my game because I've seen Nancy. And Captain Kirk goes, I don't care what you're feeling right now. All I care about is I want you to do your job and I want you to tell me why this crew member is dead. And Bones apologizes and Kirk runs off. But I thought that really showed a sense of control and command on Captain Kirk's part. I also felt really bad for McCoy, who is really behind the eight ball in this episode. So much so that midway through the episode, when he gets tired and he takes some pills and he goes to sleep in his quarters, the creature, after being up with Captain Kirk and Bones unsuspectingly after killing a crew member down on the planet, the monster, or the salt-eating monster, goes and sees McCoy and becomes McCoy to sort of blend in. And he actually goes to the bridge. He asks Mr. Sulu what's going on. Before that, he impersonates another crew member that is stalking Ensign Rand for the salt. And that's the scene where we meet Sulu and his obsession with plants. And the monster doesn't like the plant for some reason and he runs off. But the really interesting thing is, I'm really curious as to, okay, the monster got on the ship. And the monster obviously knows what he needs to live, right? So why didn't he go after salt tablets? Why did he impersonate Dr. McCoy? Why did he go to the bridge? Why did he try to adapt when all that he really wanted was salt? Why did he try to find salt? Well, I guess he kind of did. And when Yeoman Rand didn't allow him to have the salt on her tray, I guess he thought the next best logical thing for him to do was impersonate a member of the crew and sort of try and infiltrate them and try and kill them one by one to try and get salt that way. But then again, I'm like, okay, well, he should have got there, gone for the salt immediately. He shouldn't have wasted his time with Yeoman Rand trying to chase her around. He shouldn't have wasted his time trying to seduce Uhura in in the hallway and tried to kill her, but eventually she was called to the bridge, and because she was called to the bridge, essentially she was saved. So I don't know why the monster did what they did, but again, it's all in service of the story and the overall drama of the story. Anyway, it ends up that Kirk and Spock eventually corner Professor Crater on the planet, and Professor Crater finally says that Nancy is not my wife. Nancy has been dead for years. That person who you saw is indeed a monster and is after Salt, and if you guys don't stop her, she will kill you. So I really liked that scene where Professor Crater comes clean with everything. And I really like that the writer really added this small little tinge to explain what happens to a person when they get hit by a phaser. I really, really like that. And I also really, really like that when shit hits the fan, McCoy is the one that has to basically murder the vision of his dead girlfriend. I thought that was really, really suspenseful, and I thought that was really suspenseful, and that was really disorienting and really hard for McCoy, for the real McCoy, who's basically been asleep for this entire episode, and was really playing catch up and really had to go on the faith of what was happening in his quarters and what Kirk was telling him from the start, and I thought that was a brilliant choice of McCoy being the one that had to kill the salt monster in the long run. I really enjoyed this episode. I love I love the chemistry between DeForest Kelley, Leonard Nimoy, and William Shatner. I thought that it was way better than any of the crew members that we saw in the cage. So this episode reminded me why I love Star Trek, and this episode was quintessentially Star Trek to me, more than the cage was, obviously. So before I go here, I just want to give my ratings for this episode. Like I said, I love this episode from start to finish. I thought it was wonderful. There was only that one negative thing that I mentioned. And on that note, my grade for this episode would be an A-. All right, guys. So again, I would like to remind you that this video series is a bigger part of a collaboration between two other YouTube channels, one being Tex Trek and the other being Starfleet Boy. So, an hour after this episode premieres on YouTube, I would like you to go over to Tex Trek to support Fathery and his crew as they discuss the latest and greatest episode of Star Trek. And an hour after their show, I would like you to go over to a wonderful YouTube channel called Starfleet Boy After Dark, where they will be doing a live stream of the latest and greatest geek news of the week. But until next time, as always, I'll see you when I see you.
So much happened here, and so much is about to.